cybersecurity education at Cyber Seniors is supported by Aura. So give a big thanks to Aura for helping us create a lot of these cybersecurity resources that you're getting through these webinars. And we've been working together since January and providing, like we said, webinars, blogs, and different resources. And Aura is an online safety platform for families, so be sure to check them out. You can check out all the resources that we've created with them at our cybersecurity center at cyberseniors.org/aura-cybersecurity. That's where you'll be able to find the video of this session after the fact and additional information, including a blog and other resources. So be sure to go check that out. Of course, you will get an email with the recording of this as well as a notes package after this. And you can also access discounted Aura plans at aura.com/cyberseniors. So if you are in the market for protective software, as well as scam prevention software, with that is the place to go. And Cyber Seniors participants can get a nice discount there. So be sure to check it out. All right. So today's topic is how to identify online charity scams. So what we're going to cover today is we're going to assess kind of the risk of charity scams. How much of a risk do they pose to us? How prevalent are they? The most common types of charity scams, warning signs of fake charity scams, steps to protect yourself against such scams, and what to do if you are the victim of a charity scam. So what are charity scams? So charity scams involve organizations or sometimes individuals that pose as charitable initiatives and attempt to trick you into giving up money or personal information that can be used for identity theft, right? The people behind these scams range from scam artists to opportunistic public figures to everyday people who exploit access to charity funds. So there's a bit of variety here in terms of what we're talking about with scams that we'll get into. And obviously, most people who practice charitable giving are generous and empathetic people. And when there's a desperate need for help, they might be compelled to do their part. Unfortunately, that sort of compassion and empathy is a target, makes us maybe an ideal target for these scammers. So it's something we have to be watching out for and to be vigilant about. So losses from charity scams. So losses from charity scams have been rising along with losses from every other kind of scam out there year by year. And in fact, officially, victims of online charity scams lost a total of $4.4 million in 2020. And that number doesn't include offline charity fraud or incidents that went unreported or unnoticed. So we can imagine this number is actually maybe quite a bit higher than that 4.4 million. So this is a big industry for these scammers. They can get a lot out of their victims, especially playing on any sort of current, maybe environmental disaster or, the pandemic, right? There's so many things that can rise this number and cause for more of these scams to happen. But let's start talking about what are the common types of charity scams. One of the best ways that we can keep ourselves safe from charity scams is just to be knowledgeable about what kind of scams exist, when they arise, and how they arise. So going through some of the common types of these scams is a great place to get started. So first of all, impersonation charities. So an impersonation charity is when a criminal sets up a copy of a well-known or popular charitable organization, and they snag donations that were meant for the real charity. Now, this may look like a almost direct copy of a website, and then you get it, or it may be something that's just close. They may try to mimic a name and make it just very close to the name of charity that you might recognize in order to get your donation. So this can be difficult to spot, but it's important just to make sure that you're going to the proper channels and doing adequate research on an organization to make sure you're getting the right one and not some impersonation charity. Another type of charity scam are dishonest distribution charities. So in this case, it's a bit particular. There might be many charities that are technically legitimate charities, right? They do serve a cause, maybe they do have a nonprofit status, but they purposefully misuse the funds they receive. So in other words, a disproportionate amount of those contributions may go towards inflated expenses and salaries rather than the charity's intended recipients. So a charity might not be on face value, quote unquote, a scam, but their practices may be dishonest, or you may view them as, immoral. They're taking a lot of that money and giving it to themselves, and then using, less and less of that money for the actual causes that they claim to support. There's also quite a lot of fake disaster relief funds, especially, as we see more and more things like climate disasters happening. These are popping up all the time, and they will continue to pop up every single time there is a well-publicized natural disaster. So, right, when these disasters strike, a lot of charities emerge to start raising funds. Many of those may be legitimate, but scammers are also there setting up fake nonprofits to take advantage of compassionate people who want to do their part in a time of crisis. So this is really prevalent and something to watch out for. So specifically, I think when you're donating on the back of something horrible happening, like a natural disaster, this is something to be really vigilant about, making sure we're going through the right channels and doing our research. Now, another type of fraud that you might come across are fraudulent GoFundMe accounts and social media fundraisers. So GoFundMe is a charity or a donation raising platform that individuals can use to raise funds for their own causes, right? So this may range from somebody raising money to pay for, a medical treatment they need, or raising money to pay for the funeral of a loved one or the burial services of a loved one. So it really ranges in terms of what these may cover. They're often run by individuals, and they can be harder to check, though GoFundMe and other websites like it do try to do their part in tracking these fraudulent fundraisers and shutting them down. And they have some measures in place to stop them. But, at the very basis, someone could just lie and the platform might not have a way of knowing that. So fraudsters will post a story on social media or one of these crowdfunding platforms. Facebook also has, you're able to, I think, raise funds through a certain feature on there as well. They garner pity and raise money. They may even steal someone else's photos, someone else's true story, and use them for their fake fundraiser. So this one is a bit harder to spot in some senses, as it's not necessarily, some big company that we can search up and Google, but they're out there on something that we'll talk about how to spot. Veterans charity scams, all the scammers love to prey on veterans and active duty soldiers to commit their scams. Unfortunately, it's a big market. So, veteran charity scams, no different than, the romance scams we talked about a couple months ago with, people on active duty. So scammers will take advantage of people's patriotism and support for the military and impersonating veterans charities and targeting veterans charities. Obviously horrible, since there are so much support that a lot of these veterans need and don't get adequately, and charities that support them are so important. And so they know that, and they take advantage of that fact, and they'll try to get money from people wishing to donate to those charities. And other example of charity scams, you'll see that a lot of these are based on some sort of current event or current crisis. So a lot cropped up and continue to crop up around the war in Ukraine and the Ukraine relief charity scams. A ton cropped up around COVID-19 related causes, so fake charities there. Always tons of disaster relief charity scams anytime one happens. And then we talked about social media charity scams. So folks just setting them up, the GoFundMe ones, fake charities impersonating cancer research groups is kind of common, specifically cancer research groups, because there's obviously a huge industry there in terms of charitable organizations around cancer. So that's pretty relevant as well. And then other veteran assistance charity scams, as we talked about. So other ones to look out for. And you can think about it anytime something big happens, especially when you're donating to something that is current, that is involved in maybe a particular disaster or whatever, just to look out, be extra vigilant to your research. So those are some of the types of charity scams that exist, that are out there. So what are the warning signs that you may be being targeted here? So first of all, much like in any scam, hard sell tactics are a huge red flag for charity scams. So while charities often use persuasive language, which is normal, to try to get you to donate, scams and scammers will be probably a little more aggressive to go after your money. So be aware of the language the solicitor is using. Scammers might create a sense of urgency about their offers, or even threaten you if you don't do what they ask. They might send donations or give you personal information. And obviously every charity has a compelling call to action. That is how they fundraise. It's so integral to how they fundraise. But if anyone puts like an undue pressure on you to donate, you're better off finding a more professional, trustworthy place for your contributions, right? It still may be a legitimate charity, but you may not want to donate to people who are using those kinds of tactics in the first place, and you better just avoid it, full stop. Another thing to look out for is vague language. So on the other end of the spectrum, rather than being really specific, really going after you, just vague language, right? Donations needed, give little, help a lot, but like no strong call to action or explanation about why they need the funds, or how those funds might be used. So just looking out for it, doing your research, doing your reading. Unsecure websites. So a lot of donating these days happens online. It's a really great way to donate. It makes it really easy. And you can do things like set up monthly donations to organizations or charities that you really care about. And that's awesome. However, we do have some stuff that we can look out for when we're donating. One of those things is if you are on a website and you see a pop-up like this one, you type in the URL, it says not secure, stay away from that website. Charities and legitimate charities should go through the process of securing their website, of making sure that those protocols are set up. And if they're not doing that, either it's a scam or it just may be someone you don't trust with taking your money if they don't have the wherewithal to set up those protocols in the first place to protect you and protect your information as well as their own. So watching out for that not secure thing popping up. It should pop up on most websites. And also, as usual, looking out for the secure kind of precursor to a URL, which is https://. That is the kind of general safety protocol you're looking for when you type in a URL and you kind of extend it out. You should see that at the very beginning before the www dot whatever it is. Direct contact. So legitimate charities won't, unless you've asked them to, contact you out of the blue directly. So if someone contacts you about donating to a charity, make sure you verify who they are. If they text you, ask for the name of their charity, and then check them on sites to check. And afterwards, contact the charity through their official phone number to ensure you're not being phished. And if you think a message from a charity might be a phishing attack, look for the following signs: excessive typos in the emails. We can see here, help rush life-saving medical care for equal families, probably said families, right? Typos, unknown email address or personal email provider. For example, instead of using Gmail, instead of a official.org email, right? So if you get an email from us at Cyber Seniors, it's cyberseniors.org. But if someone emailed you saying, and their email was cyberseniors@gmail.com, that would be something to look out for. Obscure links or attachments. You can see right here, there's this random attachment that's just 2 JPEG. So that is a red flag there. And then asking for personal or sensitive information from you. This one doesn't do it, but just asking for things like your social security number. And then, as always, weird ways of paying. So this one says payment can be made through the Bitcoin address. So cryptocurrency, gift cards, weird payment methods like that. Which brings us to strange payment methods. Jump the gun a bit there. So yeah, they want you to donate using cash or wire transfers or gift cards or cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. So if you do decide to donate to a charity, use a credit card because you have more protection there, or a check. Scammers often try to get you to use these alternative payments because they're harder to reverse once you realize it's a fraud. So this includes those wire transfers, cash, gift cards, and cryptocurrencies. Another way to protect yourself when you're paying is just to keep track and a record of your donations and check your statements to make sure you haven't been charged more than you planned to donate in the first place. And you can set up like credit monitoring services as well to protect against these things. So as I said, using a credit card is the safest way to make these donations, especially when we're making them online. And you can set up for a credit monitoring service like the one that Aura provides, and that can help alert you of any suspicious payments or potential financial fraud going on under your name. Another thing to look out for is that they have a similar name to other charities. So this goes along with the impersonation of things. So we have 2 logos here. The American Heart Association is a legitimate association, organization, nonprofit. The American Heart Society is something that I just made up, and I just copied the logo and got the font pretty close, right? So this sort of impersonation, we're using very similar names to other charities. So you have an idea that, oh, I've heard of this charity before. Yeah, they're legitimate because that sounds really familiar, but yet they are not. They're fraudulent. So you can always do your research, Google that name, make sure you have the correct one that you are thinking of and not something that just is close to that. Another thing is that there's no additional information or news online. So you Google search them, you don't find any news articles on them, you don't find other places linking to them, talking about them. They really only exist in like the URL and the email that they've sent you to their site or whatever it is. They're not there's not a lot of content about them online. Now, this is tricky because sometimes it might be a newer charity. And so again, there might not be a lot of information, but it's just also a red flag if there's not a lot of information coming up on them besides from their own website and from other sources. Another thing is that they offer prizes or sweepstakes. Now, to be fair, there are times when charities will do sweepstakes or prize things, right, to try to garner up, some more funds or support. But a lot of the time, these are kind of the tactics that scammers use. So we want to be extra vigilant whenever this is offered up, and just making sure that we're double checking that this is legitimate. It's a pretty big red flag. So I would generally stay away from it if possible, but it is used sometimes as a legitimate tactic. So just be wary and when you see things like this, and make sure you do your research and double check before you make any decision to donate in these cases. And then they ask for sensitive information, right? So the end goal of any scam may not always be to just get money out of you directly. It may also be to get information out of you so that they can commit identity fraud or use your information to go on to scam other people in your network. So if they ask for sensitive information, be wary of that. When you're donating to charities, really mostly a lot of what they need is, your payment and like your name and I guess maybe your address so they can issue you a donation receipt. But they shouldn't be asking for information like your social security number or anything like that, passwords, account information, or PINs or anything else. All right. So those are the things to look out for. And in there was a bit of stuff about how to protect yourself, but I will go over a few steps to really protecting yourself on these matters. So the first thing you can do is check the charity's credentials on a charity watchdog site. So there's a number of these that exist. The main one would be charitynavigator.org. It's a great resource for people who are looking to give to reputable organizations. And the website contains a rating system, kind of like you see in the picture on the right, for each charity, which allows you to make a more informed decision about your money, where your money is going. And this doesn't just include whether the charity is like a full-blown scam or not. It also might include some of that information about, how they're using funds, how transparent they are about the use of their funds, and all of that. There's also the Better Business Bureau's Wise Giving Alliance, which features accredited charities and a searchable database in case you need to verify a charity's website that you find independently. So using that to search up a website and confirm that is legitimate. There's CharityWatch.org, which places a special emphasis on financial transparency, right? So not just if it's a scam or not, and also unbiased reporting. So search results include detailed rating system and provide insight into how specific charities distribute their cash flow. So if you want to make sure that your money that you're donating goes the furthest, that's one to look out for. And then GuideStar.org is another searchable charity watchdog website, which aims to help individuals make informed decisions. And this resource emphasizes its effort to provide the most up-to-date information possible about each nonprofit they go. So they're really good about updating really frequently. Do they include Canadian charities? I do believe that Charity Navigator does. I think most of them do, but we'll check out Charity Navigator right now. Let's see. What's it called? So we can look up something like Save the Children, whatever, and we can see an organization here. We can see their address. We can see if they're a 501c3 organization, they're nonprofit, donations are tax deductible. It gives them a rating out of 4 stars, and it gives us a percentage as well. And we can also go down here and see things like accountability and finance. So that kind of transparency, financial metrics, and you can just read up about different charities, and we can keep. Yeah, so they do Canadian charities as well. We can search up the Canadian Cancer Society. It's not rated here, oddly. I'm not sure why. But we can look up organizations that are outside of the States. So they do both. And they have a lot on here. Now, I do want to say again, like a newer charity might not have a lot of information on here or may not be fully listed on here yet because, there are so many charities out there and these sites do their best to try to get the most up-to-date information and share, but they can't always get all of them right away. So something to look out for, but a great resource, any of these sites, to be looking up charities on here. Another thing you can do besides just using those websites to look up charities is to conduct your own online research about the charity. So searching for the charity's name along with words like scam, fraud, reviews, ratings, complaints, and searching it. So, American Heart Society, complaints, scam, whatever, and learning what other people have to say about their experience. So reading on Google reviews, what people say, and also learning about whether or not the organization you're giving to is a good fit for you, right? Going beyond just saying, is this a scam? Is this organization transparent? Do I trust them? Do I like the sort of, kind of things they support, right? You may be looking at to donate, to some sort of organization that has to do with cancer, and you may have a particular interest on giving to help, low-income families dealing with it, pay for expenses rather than research. So making sure that you're aligning exactly what you're trying to donate to and what kind of part of a cause you're trying to donate to, and being specific about that. A lot of charities these days will offer that. So when you're donating online, they may have a checklist that says, just donate to wherever you need the money, or you can say, I want to specifically donate to the research wing of this organization versus, individual financial support for victims of this cause, right? Whatever it is. So you can specify that. Organizations that do that are great, and it may be best to donate to places like that so you can really be sure that you are donating specifically the way you want to. And it's also a kind of part of transparency if they do that, to tell you exactly where your funds are going and where they can go. And also do things like a reverse image search. So along with searching just the name of the organization and scam, you can take pictures from the organization or the individual. This is specifically crucial for things like GoFundMe, to make sure that that image isn't appearing elsewhere and might be used from a scam. So for example, Google, I'm just going to use this first scam, right? And then you'll see other people talking about it. So places like Quora and, Reddit, though they're just like person-to-person forums, they can be really helpful places to get people's opinion, right? To talk to other people who have donated and make sure you're not being scammed. So people will be having discussions online. You can always search things like review as well. And that might bring up stuff like Charity Navigator or other reviews, peer review of work. So checking that out, looking at it, making sure you're getting that information. And you can also, as I said, do a reverse image search. This is specifically helpful. Say you're searching up a logo, or maybe you're searching up an image that you found on a GoFundMe, to make sure that that image isn't stolen from someone else and it's actually related to the charity that someone's claiming it's related to. So when you come to Google, you have your search bar on the main page. You're going to want to click this button, this search by image button. And if you have the photo that you want saved, you can do it, but you can also paste a URL from it. They'll also allow you to do that. Or you can upload an image. Just have this open. So I just searched this, and you can see, oh, here are these visual matches and all of these different articles on it. It's everywhere, and it seems legitimate, or versus a photo of a person from a GoFundMe that you can search. So another helpful tool there, making sure that you're able to do your own research and identify things, especially again with smaller or newer charities that may not have a ton of information on some of these watchdog sites. That doesn't necessarily automatically mean they're a scam. It just may mean that they are smaller. And sometimes a smaller charity or smaller cause might be something you want to donate to because you know that your money is going more directly to a cause that you care about, rather than going to a giant charitable organization or nonprofit organization like the American Heart Society that's allocating funds in a million different places, and you don't know where your actual dollar ends up and who it's helping. Asking about the nonprofit status and verifying it. Charitable organizations that are have nonprofit status, they have to maintain that status. So ask them. If a charity is very small or new, like we said, they may not appear on those watchdog sites, but something you can do to verify their legitimacy is ask for that status, and they can send you proof of it. So you are able to see it. And also, when you do this, just make sure that you are keeping track of all your records when you do donate. Yeah, just asking for that information. As I said, keeping track of your donations, keeping records. Record keeping helps you verify that all of your financial transactions are legitimate. So ask for a receipt whenever you donate. Make a record of your own on your own end of your donation, the name of your organization, the date you donated, the amount you donated, whether it was a one-time donation or a recurring contribution, and ensure that the amount that was charged to your bank account or your credit card matches the amount that you elected to pay. So just make sure that those match up. So those are all the steps you can take to protect yourself. What do you do if you are the victim of one of these scams? So it's the same process, really similar here to a lot of processes with scams. Unfortunately, when it comes to being scammed, in terms of getting money back, there's only so much we can do once it happens. So our best way to protect ourselves is to be vigilant and stop it before it happens. But if it does happen, doing stuff like creating a detailed report of the scam, all your interactions, the amount you gave, any sort of receipt you received, all of that, just keeping a very detailed report. Reporting the fraud to the Federal Trade Commission in the States and the equivalent in Canada, which I'm blanking on, but I will put in the chat after. And if the fraud took place on a social media platform or like a fundraising website like GoFundMe, reporting it to them as well so they can shut it down to make sure that no one else falls victim. Regularly monitoring your accounts for signs of fraud or suspicious activity, right? Especially if you set up some sort of recurring payment, making sure that those are staying the same and that they are coming out in the time frame that you wish them to. Making sure you secure your devices and online accounts. So if you fall victim to a scam where it was more about them collecting information on you, specifically making sure that you update all your passwords and secure those accounts, sign up for two-factor authentication, and just make sure that it's all locked down. Placing a freeze on your credit, again, specifically important when the fraud included, information being taken from you. And then again, you can consider getting protection from things like identity theft, and Aura offers their identity theft protection plan. So you can have that as just a double safety on that end. All right, that is it for this presentation on charity scams. If you do have more questions about this topic after today, you can call us at Cyber Seniors toll free at 844-217-3057, or you can visit us online at www.cyberseniors.org. You can also visit our Cybersecurity Center for more resources at cyberseniors.org/aura-cybersecurity. And as always, you can access those discounted Aura plans at aura.com/cyberseniors.